The Holler Kings, where the horror's southern fried. Holler.
Hello, it's me, Craig.
And it's me, Adam.
And we're the Holler Kings.
The motherfucking Holler Kings.
It's true. You know, I meant to say this earlier. Have you ever seen Mad Men?
No, I haven't.
In Mad Men, like, before we record, I feel like Don Draper from Mad Men.
Really?
Because, yeah, like, I get up early, I do, like, the last of my research and kind of get my materials together and set up the microphones. And, you know, it's like this very creative, like, I'm out and doing it. And then, like, a good 30 minutes before you get here, I lay down on the couch and just relax.
Really?
And just kind of let my thoughts kind of, like, you know, kind of sink in or whatever. Yeah. And I feel very much like Don Draper, the main character of Mad Men, would do that a lot.
Really?
He'd be all, like, in his office, just laying down on his couch.
Uh-huh.
And, like, that's kind of how I feel sometimes. Right before you hit that doorbell, I'm, like, in that Don Draper zone.
Yeah.
Just, like, we're going to talk about... We're gonna talk about Squirm.
Yeah.
What do I have to say about Squirm?
He's the warm face now.
I feel like Squirm is gonna come up repeatedly.
For sure.
That was like a new touchstone of my life. So
yeah.
But today we're gonna do something a little different.
What movie are we gonna review?
We ain't doing a movie.
Shit.
We ain't doing a movie. We're going to discuss creepy country music.
Creepy country music.
We're going to talk about spooky country, and we each have 5 entries we're going to bring to the table and talk about. And I do want to point out, if you're a listener, you may have picked up on this or heard us say it previously, but Adam, he's quoted as saying, "Fuck country music." Adam, you don't like country music?
That was verbatim. No, I'm not a big fan of it. Yeah. Like, it's weird because I grew up on country. Like, well, I kind of grew up, you know, especially, you know, when you're younger, you kind of are at the mercy of your parents. So I grew up on, like, country music and then, like, a lot of, like, 60s and 70s rock and stuff like that. So that was, and then, of course, you know, you had, like, Casey Kasem Top 40 on Sundays.
Sure, yeah.
Like, I have so many memories of, like, going to church and back from church listening to the top 40. So, yeah, some new music. But, like, my dad was a big, like, you know, he grew up listening to, you know, Beatles, Zeppelin, Ozzy, Black Sabbath, you know, all that type of stuff. And my mom was a country fan. So it was definitely a part of my childhood, but I just don't have that much of a taste for it now.
I feel like it's only natural because my parents like country music, and I do feel like it's very natural to, like, rebel against your parents, even if it's not in a vicious way.
Yeah.
Because I think that's kind of what happened to me as a young, like, preteen and teenager. I gravitated towards grunge and punk rock and stuff like that. But I totally grew up with 80s and 90s country music.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I definitely, as an adult, really appreciate stuff like Keith Whitley and Dwight Yoakam.
Yeah.
You know, kind of mainstream 80s stuff.
Yeah.
But as I get older, I kind of rediscovered like old school country. So I'm a pretty big fan of, like, Hank Williams Sr. and kind of the 50s sounding country, like 40s and 50s. I really enjoy that stuff.
Were you getting into that, like, outlaw country type
stuff?
stuff?
In the 70s, that's great. Like Waylon Jennings and Merle Haggard, those guys. I definitely have an affinity towards all that stuff.
Do you watch a lot of part
No, not really.
Okay.
But
have you ever heard of Bo Burnham?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. He has a part of his stand up where he does this song called Country Song.
Yeah.
And it's him, like, shitting on modern country music.
Right.
And how it's just, like, use the verbiage of, you know, saying stuff about, like, red tractors and all this type of stuff. So
where instead of people actually telling their stories, you got a bunch of millionaire metrosexuals who've never done a hard day's work in their life, but They figured out the words and the phrases they can use to pander to their audience, and they list the same words and phrases off sort of Mad Lib style in every song, raking in millions of dollars from actual working class people. You know the words, you know the phrases like a dirt road, a cold beer, a blue jeans, a red pickup, a rural noun, simple adjective.
But I do like, there is some modern country and country adjacent stuff, because I love Lucero.
They came back home, we've just been taking what we need. Never really think about what's outside the law. There's a long way back home.
Which is more like Southern rock, I guess. They're based out of Memphis. Jason Isbell, he's kind of a modern guy that I like and everything.
My daddy's way, he was down in the mines all day. I know he wanted more than mouths to feed and bills to pay. Maybe the Cumberland Gap just swallows you whole. Maybe the Cumberland Gap just swallows you whole.
Yeah, I don't really gravitate towards a lot of modern country. That being said, what are some of our favorite spooky country songs?
Yeah. I guess we should preface this with, this isn't us saying these are the best songs ever or anything like that. And some of mine, probably maybe some people wouldn't consider country, just songs that have, or the songs that have a creepy, or not creepy, sorry, songs that just have a Southern vibe to me.
Yeah.
So it's all personal preference and all that. But
these are favorites, not best,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's
definitely
personal taste.
And
yeah.
even as favorites, you ask me next week and it could change.
Oh, yeah,
Because I went back and forth on some of these. But
like if you have one and I have one on the same list.
yeah, we'll kind of save. Like if you say it, but it's higher on my list, we'll kind of save it.
Okay. Works for me.
Yeah.
What's your number 5?
My number 5, which I didn't actually really number these, but I guess I'll just kind of go in order of what I have them in. Number 5, I have. Do you want me to play it?
Yeah, say what it is and then play a little bit for me. Well, just so I get a feel of it if I don't know what it is.
For number 5, I have Little Big Town Bones.
Little Big Town. That's a modern song, isn't it?
Yeah.
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 Let's hear it.
You got bones in your closet. You got ghosts in your town. Ain't no doubt, yeah, they're gonna come out. They're waiting for the sun to go down. You can't hide from your demons. Feel them all looking around. You're running scared 'cause you know they're out there. They're waiting for the sun to go down.
So how recent is this?
Sometime in I don't know the exact year, but it was in the 2000s
Yeah.
for sure.
Nice. Why'd you pick this one?
Honestly, because were you a huge fan of, or a fan at all of True Blood?
Oh yeah, I watched.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it. I absolutely loved it. And I got pulled so many music, and that was one of the songs that was featured, because like at the end of every episode they'd have like some sort of like country song, and that was one of them. And I just loved that kind of tone of like all of them together, and it kind of always stuck with me and became a favorite of mine. So yeah, it was really True Blood, because I'd never even heard of it before then. Yeah. So True Blood kind of drew that in for me.
That's cool. It sounds a little Fleetwood Mac-ish to me.
I was going to point that out because a lot of people reference and say it sounds a lot like Fleetwood Mac's The Chain.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It does have like the same kind of cadence to it and all that.
It makes it very cinematic, though. I
Yeah.
can see how it would marry with like
Yeah.
visuals and everything.
For
That's cool.
sure.
Lyrically, how is it creepy? I guess we're talking about bones, obviously.
Yeah, I guess just that. I guess it's just more the association with True Blood to it that does it for me. But there is that kind of like the whole bones in your closet, things like that. That kind of makes it a little creepy. But it's more the association with True Blood, I think.
That's cool. It's cool that you picked a more modern country thing too, because
Yeah.
I was worried about that going into this, that we would just not even touch anything
Right.
recent. So that's cool.
What's your number 5?
My number 5, it's a little more obscure, and it's one I think I mentioned on Half-Ass Horrorcast before, but I had to include it here. and that's the Ghost Song by Salty Holmes. This is from 1954, so this is old school. I'll play a little bit.
Now on a dark and stormy night, not a star was in sight. In a graveyard by a church way up on the hill. Well, the ghost come out to play, and then I thought I heard one say, I've got you, I'll keep you, I'll always will.
Man, I really like that. What was that?
Salty Holmes.
Salty
It's called the
Holmes.
Ghost Song.
I'm already a fan of this dude.
But he's a really good harmonica player, and Holmes is actually Southern too. He's from Kentucky, and he was a songwriter of this. So even though it's a couple of mine are like borderline novelty songs. Actually, one of them really is a novelty song. This one's like.
You mean like kind of like Monster Mash?
Yeah, they're a little
thing?
bit like tongue in cheek and fun, and this is partly that way, right? With all the different voices, and he's playing different parts, and it's telling a story. But if lyrically, it's a really cool song. It's like about generational guilt because he's in a graveyard and a ghost recognizes him, and he's like, "Are you the one that shot my great grandpa?"
I got you where I want you. I'm gonna keep you where I got you. For you the one that shot my great grandpa.
So it's kind of like, this character that's telling the story is like suffering generational guilt, right? Something that his forefather did to this ghost. It's coming back to him, So that's a kind of a cool, like, even though it's a fun, like, almost kid-friendly Halloween song in some ways, it's also kind of layered in a way where you can appreciate it as an adult, I thought.
Yeah.
But he's a really cool guy to look up. What's crazy is his catalog isn't really on iTunes. It's not available on Apple Music because I was creating a playlist for this so I could, show you the music or play you the music. And I had to go to YouTube to find a clip of it. So it's a little bit, you have to dig around a little bit for his stuff, but he was huge in the 50s. I mean, he's a, kind of hallmark guy, harmonica player and songwriter. And this is probably one of his biggest hits.
Man,
but,
I love the whole vibe of that song. That was great.
Cool. So that was The Ghost Song by Salty Holmes. Number 4.
Number 4. You know this song. Everybody knows this song. Garth Brooks, The Thunder Rolls.
Oh, shit. I came close to putting this one
Really?
on, too. Yeah, I didn't make the list, but I came close. Yeah.
The city's looking like a ghost town on a moonlit summer night. Raindrops on the windshield, there's a storm moving in. He's heading back from somewhere that he never should have been. And the thunder rolls. And the thunder rolls.
I mean, it's one that always felt creepy to me growing up.
Yeah.
Like just the tone of it, the melodic nature of it, the thunder and light. Well, I mean, you don't hear lightning, but
You visualize it when you listen, though, yeah.
But it was one that always felt creepy to me. And, talking about love going cold and all this. And, yeah, it was definitely one that always stood out to me. So when you first said this, that was one of the first ones I thought of was the Thunder Rolls.
Well, and I remember, you might be a hair too young to remember, but like the music video was super controversial when it came out because this is obviously about domestic abuse and violence and everything. It's really graphic for the era. Although country music has a litany of songs like this back old school songs, but this was a mainstream huge artist, and this was like one of his, like on the cusp of some of his biggest hits was this like very dark, song about murder basically and domestic abuse. And I remember Garth Brooks in the video plays the abuser. Like he is literally the man, the main heavy of the.
Really?
Yeah.
Like I vaguely remember all that, but I didn't have like cable growing up, so I didn't see a lot of music videos. So I remember there being a controversy to it, but I don't think I ever watched the.
It was a big deal, and it's like one of the early instances of. He plays like a character, and he like wears a wig, and he has like facial hair, and it's almost like kind of silly.
Is going like Chris Gaines
like,
with it?
It's like a prototype maybe of like I can be different people.
Yeah.
I'm not just Garth Brooks.
I can do a whole another album, and it'll be just as successful.
I really want to be a pop artist. This is how I do it. Nowadays, people just
having a
become
soul
pop
patch.
artists. Yeah, it's like he was embarrassed and didn't want to admit.
Yeah,
I don't
now
want
everybody kind of just stretches across all genres.
Just do whatever they want.
But
yeah.
I guess at the time, yeah, it was a little bit. I never noticed any like domestic violence elements to it.
Yeah.
When I mean, it just sounded like someone was cheating on somebody.
Right.
But I mean, it's still
And then she fucking murders him for it.
that is true. Yeah. Originally, this was covered by Tanya Tucker.
Oh, it was her song first?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
from what I understand, it was
Wow.
hers, and she had like, because I know like the main Thunder Rolls never had like the final verse in it, like in radio and stuff, where she goes to get the gun and murders him. But yeah, like Tanya Tucker when she originally did it, and I think the reason it ended up being it was shelved and it didn't make it on their album or something. I don't know. It's a little foggy on it, but she had the original verse on there too at first, where she gets a gun and murders him. And stuff.
To me, it makes sense that a female artist
Yeah.
would be the one that actually sings it.
It's very from the female perspective.
He reaches for the pistol in the bottom dresser drawer. The lady in the mirror says he won't do this again. This'll be the last night that I wonder where he's been. And the thunder rolls. The thunder rolls.
My number 4, this is one that's also widely known, and that's Delilah's Gone. Delia's Gone, excuse me.
Delia's
I said Delilah.
Hey there, Delilah.
Yeah, that's is in my head. Delia's Gone. This is popularized by Johnny Cash.
Yeah,
You know this one?
I'm vaguely familiar with it.
This is one that he recorded originally in the 60s,
Yeah.
and it was, a moderate hit, because, I mean, he played it, like, on his TV show back in the day. He would have a love song segment, and he jokingly played this as his love songs segment.
Really?
He was all like, here's a love song for you. And then he just, like, it's straight up a murder song. It's
Yeah.
like a country murder ballad, which there's a rich history of that in country music. But it's straight up a guy describing how he, killed his lover.
Yeah.
And how it haunts him.
First time I shot her in the side. Hard to watch her suffer, but with the second shot she died. Delia's gone, one more round, Delia's gone.
And he famously re-recorded it in the 90s as an older guy with Rick Rubin. It was on his American Classics album. Wasn't written.
You can never go wrong with Johnny Cash, man.
And he's an original. He's also from Arkansas. I don't think I really need to state his Southern credentials, but in the songwriters are Dick Troops and Carl Silbersdorf. This is a case where a lot of country music artists don't write their own material,
Right, yeah,
But he always makes his own, even
For sure.
Like famously with "Hurt," Trent
definitely.
Reznor. I mean, Trent Reznor literally said, "This is now his song. Like this isn't really my song anymore." But yeah, just you can't go wrong with a country murder ballad.
No.
it's a good stuff
For sure.
Yeah, definitely worth checking out.
Number 3 is the band The Dead South. Have you heard of them?
No.
Okay.
Great title.
Yeah, it's good. And this is a song called "In Hell I'll Be in Good Company."
Ah, yeah, I like
So,
it.
Here it is.
I see my redhead, mess bed, tear shed, queen bee miss squeeze. The stage smells, tells, hells, bells, misspells, knocks me on my knees. It didn't hurt, flirt, blood, squirt, stuff, shirt like me on a tree. After I count down 3 rounds, in hell I'll be in good company.
So there's a little
That's
bit.
terrific. I love
Yeah.
that. That's really cool.
Yeah, that was one that came on my radar. Again, it was one of those things that just kind of popped up on YouTube, and I was like, "The Dead South." Clicked on it, and I was won over immediately. I was like, "Oh man, I love this."
It's pretty modern. Is this?
Yeah. It's only. I mean, I don't know the exact year, but I'd say maybe 7, 8 years old. I would think.
Nice.
So-
It had a drive-by truckers feel to it.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with them?
A little bit.
Yeah, kind of like southern rock, but
Yeah.
with like cool, like I like the banjo.
You
kinda
almost got some like
layered in.
bluegrass type
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
going
yeah.
on there. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely, he's talking about dead wife, and there's talk later, of blood and all this other stuff. So it has definitely a creepy vibe to it, and it just has a cool, like, bluegrassy feel to it.
Nice. That's definitely one I'll check out.
Yeah,
Dead
for sure.
South. Yeah.
Yeah, they just recently released a bunch of covers. Like they did a cover of System of a Down's "Chop Suey."
Oh, fun.
And they did some other ones. I forget the other ones. I think they did a Korn cover as well. I don't know. They did a bunch of different covers. I'm not for sure, but I don't even think they're from the South. I think I mean I'd have to look it up to be for sure, but I think they're from Canada.
Ooh, well,
But I mean,
a lot of rural areas in
I
Canada.
mean that's
maybe
true.
That's,
There is a lot of country in Canada. That's
crossover
for sure.
a little bit.
I could be
I
completely
loved
wrong.
it though. I mean,
Yeah.
no shade about not being
Yeah,
Southerners.
no,
It's
they
really cool.
definitely embody it. Really, like their sound is great.
Yeah.
So
Nice. Great pick. The Dead South. What was the song called again?
In Hell, I'll Be in Good Company.
Excellent. I like it. My number 3 is an official novelty song.
Oh, okay.
I'm going there.
Let's do it.
This is Buck Owens,
Okay.
who I'm a huge fan of. I love
Yeah, for
Buck
sure.
Owens and Dwight Yoakam. That kind of sound.
Uh-huh.
The song is called "It's a Monster's Holiday."
Nice.
Frankenstein was the first in line, and the Wolfman came up next. Dracula was a doing his stuff, a breathing down my neck. Jump back, make tracks, here comes the hunchback, better get out of his way. Beep, beep, bye, bye, bo, bo, bum, it was a monster's holiday.
That's pretty. I like that. That
Yeah.
was good. That feels like the perfect song to play like during Halloween instead of listening to Monster Mash for the umpteenth fucking time.
Yeah.
I like that.
100% agree, and I like the Monster Mash.
I do too.
I don't mean to just throw it under the bus.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But I love that this works as a country song. Like it sounds like a 70s country
Yeah,
song.
definitely.
Like it has that rhythm and the backing and his vocals. It's and lyrically, I love how it opens because he includes every Universal monster, straight
Yeah.
up front. I mean, to include a hunchback, it gets thrown into the mix. So I love the references. I love, the second verse about, like goblins and gremlins and zombies.
Yeah.
He's just really throwing everything in there. And I just think it's really fun and really underplayed. Like,
Yeah, I've never heard it before. I've heard of Buck Owens, but I've never heard that
for
song.
sure. Yeah. Like, and I can imagine that it was a pretty big hit in the 70s and then just kind of like drifted off a little
Right.
bit. We have so many bad Halloween songs. You know what I mean?
So many.
There's only a few like really, upper crust Halloween songs, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me that this isn't included more often and isn't played a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely needs to be.
Yeah, and it like you said, I mean, you could at least marry it with Monster Mash. If you're gonna play Monster Mash once, you should play this one to match it.
For sure.
Throw
yeah,
it into the
definitely.
mix.
It gives me that fun, like, country comedic vibe of someone like Ray Stevens. Did you?
Oh, sure. Yeah,
for
of course.
sure. Like,
It also kind of reminds Scooby-Doo. We've brought up Scooby-Doo on the podcast before. It sounds like a Scooby-Doo song that would be in the background
while
when they're running,
like,
and
and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. It definitely gave me vibes like that because it was funny. While searching this, Ray Stevens popped up in the, like in
Sure.
related. And I was like, I haven't thought about Ray Stevens in 15 years.
He has like
probably.
a casino out here.
Really?
I think so.
Like he still he does because like what had popped up, he did a quarantine song, and I listened to it, and man, it just brings back so much nostalgia because he felt like he was like a looming kind of not looming. That sounds negative, but he was just one of those pervasive things that was like
omnipresent, yeah.
all around my childhood. with like the streak and all
Oh, yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
but yeah, that kind of gives me that his type of vibes.
I could see that. And Buck Owens wrote that one. It was written by him and performed by Buck Owens and the Buckaroos, which I think is just a fantastic name for a group. So be sure to check it out. It's a Monsters Holiday, and "it's a" is in parentheticals for some reason. So
For sure.
we're getting down, man. We're getting down to the end here.
Number 2. Yes, we are at number 2. Number 2 for me will be from the group Delta Ray.
Oh, I know this. I know these guys.
RAE. Yeah. And Bottom of the River. You ever heard it?
I think I've heard this one. Let's
Okay.
play it for us.
Ooh, baby, it's a long way down to the bottom of the river. Hold my hand. Ooh, baby, it's a long way down, a long way down. Hold my hand. Ooh, baby, it's a long way, a long, long, long way. Hold my hand. Ooh, baby, it's a long way down, a long way down.
Broken Records, kind of one that I just came across, and I just love the vibe of it with like that sort of, I don't even know how to explain it, but just like with the harmonization of them and like the chains and all that, it just has like a spooky feel, and the whole vibe of the lyrics of, you know, basically like sounds like trying to drown somebody in the bottom of the river and all this.
Has a very New Orleans kind of feel to me for some reason.
Yeah, for sure. I could definitely see
or
that.
Bayou kind of.
Yeah, definitely. And it's a cool video where, like, the main, I think it's like 2 guys and 2 girls, and they kind of, they go back and forth between who takes lead on which song and stuff. But the one that takes lead on this, she's like almost supposed to be, I guess, seen as like a witch, kind of like going Salem witch trial type thing, and they're taking her out to in like cuffs or like tied up in hands and everything, and you know, it's a really cool video too to check out. But yeah, it just has a really creepy tone and still feels very Southern to me.
It feels pretty modern. Is it a recent
Yeah,
song?
yeah. It's another one that I'd say maybe like 6-7 years. If that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's even that old.
Cool.
So
I loved it. It's really cool.
And I'm not sure if they're from Nashville or if they kind of live in Nashville now, but I know they've been in kind of this area some. So
very cool. Tell us the name and title one more time.
It's Delta Ray, RAE, and it's Bottom of the River.
My number 2.
Let's hear it.
We're going back to the 40s for this one.
Oh.
The 1940s, that is.
Holy shit.
Driving Nails in My Coffin by Mr. Ernest Tubbs.
Oh, wow.
My sweetheart has gone and I'm so lonely. She said that she and I were through. So I started out drinking for pastime, driving nails in my coffin over you. I'm just driving nails in my coffin every time I drink a bottle of booze. I'm just driving nails in my coffin, Lordy, driving those nails over you.
So yeah, this is classic country. This is straight up a guy drinking himself to death because his lover has left him, right? And there's no coming back to it or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And the iconography is, you know, literally each drink he's taking, you know,
it's just like a nail in his coffin.
Right.
Yeah.
He knows he's going to an early grave over this one. And I just love it. I love the old school country stuff, like from the 40s and 50s. It already sounds a little creepy just
being
on
from
its
that
own.
era
Like there's
and
just a tone and feel to it. And Ernest, Mr. Tubbs, he's from Texas. The songwriter is Jerry Irby, who's also from Texas. This was like a top 10 radio play.
Really?
You know, it was really popular at the time. I feel like people's sensibilities used to be a little more interesting than they are now. Like people like party songs now, but back in the day, we used to like songs that told stories and maybe were a little
that
melancholy.
Were bleak and,
yeah. So, and it's funny because the tone is still kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's still kind of upbeat, but like the lyrics and what the story is actually about, very bleak stuff.
For sure.
So, yeah. It's time.
We're coming up to the end.
You had mentioned before we do our number ones to maybe do a couple of honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Stuff that didn't quite make the list.
Yeah.
What you got for us?
You know, this is another one. Just real quick, I'll throw a couple out here. Just with that same theme of True Blood as this one that was on there. It's by a band Rusty Truck called Cold Ground.
They don't know what they don't see behind closed doors. Is it real or just some
and that was when I kind of ventured back and forth. But it didn't have too much of a creepy vibe to me. It was
Right.
it was more just the element of True Blood. But I think it's still a really good song. There was another Delta Ray I almost picked called "Come Back Alive."
Call me back, darling, when you hear me call your name. If I can't hear you, I'll think somebody came. If I can't find you, I'll wait on down the hill. If you don't find me, I'll think you've been killed. If you don't find me, I'll run on down the road. Find me the sheriff, tell him what I know. Find me the preacher and pray for your soul. No safe place, child, no safe place, child, no safe place, child.
Which has a kind of creepy tone to it and everything, but Bottom of the River just won me over with more. It just had more elements of be almost like horror related. So
Yep.
I went with it. Have you ever heard of the band Ghoultown?
No.
Okay.
Ghoultown?
Ghoultown. Yeah, they do a lot of like Western country stuff, almost getting to like some rockabilly type stuff, but it's a lot of it is elements of like horror and everything. So pretty much any of their stuff you could pick. You can't really go wrong with any of their stuff. It's all pretty great.
What I said, time to play your dead man's hand. Dealing bullets is like dealing cards. When it all comes down to a draw, wind in my face, I feel the burn.
I like them, but none of their songs have ever. I've never listened to them that closely to be like. But everything of theirs I've heard I like. I've just never listened to it that closely to be like that one specific song. Maybe it's because all of their stuff has a creepy vibe to it. And the only other thing was Jace Everett's "Bad Things," which is the True Blood theme song.
Oh, yeah. That's a fun song.
Yeah, but to me that didn't fit enough country to it. And was more just about a seductive, beautiful woman, and than it was anything creepy. It has that relation. Basically, I took everything from True Blood.
Oh no, I mean True Blood. I mean it's one of the most iconic Southern themed horror
for
things
sure.
we've had in recent years.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
That and Walking Dead, I guess.
Yeah,
You
I
know.
guess. Yeah, true.
So,
But
yeah.
Walking Dead almost doesn't feel that Southern some of the time, you know. While True Blood kind of is steeped in it.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're right. Walking Dead for sure too. What do you got?
I did think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Psycho.
Don't you think I'm psycho, mama? You can pour me a cup. If you think I'm psycho, mama, better let 'em lock me up.
Yeah,
As one of
for
our
sure.
honorable mentions. I mean, we use that as basically our theme song
Definitely.
early on.
Yeah.
That's by Mr. Eddie Noack.
Yeah,
And,
felt it a little too on the nose to pick that one. But
yeah, I mean, we've already featured it so much, but it's a great song. And
fantastic.
It's cool 60s country and lyrically just a great story and everything. That's what I love about country music is that they tell stories, like the real country music. So yeah, Psycho by Eddie Noack. And the other one I had was a little more off the beaten path is Country Death Song by the Violent Femmes.
Come, little daughter, I will carry the lanterns. We'll go out tonight. We'll go to the caverns. We'll go out tonight. We'll go to the caves. Kiss your mother goodnight and remember that God saves. Kiss your mother goodnight and remember that God saves.
Oh, okay.
You ever heard of this?
I've heard of Violent Femmes, but I haven't heard that
Yeah,
song
they-
specifically.
On one of their albums from the 80s, they have a song that's straight up a country song.
Really?
And it has like a banjo in it, and it's in the lyrical tradition of old school country where it tells a story
Yeah.
of child murder. Basically,
Really?
a family that's kind of on the outs and things that happen. And there's one point where it almost drops out where there's like no music. You know what I mean? You just hear like a bass going like boom, 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 and then they all kick in at the same time.
Really?
And it's such a great moment. And,
I'll have to check that song out. That sounds pretty cool.
and I saw the lead singer and main guy, I guess, in Violent Femmes. His name is Gordon Gano, and he's from New York. So that's one of the reasons I was like, I can't include this. This guy's from New York City. He can't be like in the top 5 of my country music songs.
We're up to our number 1.
Without further ado, what's your number 1?
My number 1, I don't even have to break out the playlist. This is another one that's kind of cliched.
Oh.
But it's one that, again, goes back to my childhood, that I kind of grew up with country. And it's one of those that always kind of resonated with me as being like really kind of unsettling and
I'm
creepy.
intrigued. Yeah.
And that's Reba McEntire's The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia.
That's the night that the lights went out in Georgia. That's the night that they hung an innocent man. But don't trust your soul to no backwoods Southern lawyer. 'Cause the judge in the town's got bloodstains on his hand.
Oh, I mean, it's literally the story of a sister murdering 2 people and her brother taking the fall and being hanged for it.
Yeah. Is it originally her song?
No.
It's a cover, right?
Yeah, because I know Vicki Lawrence from like the Carol Burnett show and Mama's Family had done it at one time.
Really?
And I think it even goes even further back before her. But yeah, it's definitely when Reba did it, it was a cover by artists before
that was a huge deal. I remember. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And
It
that
became
was
one of her standards, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Right next to Fancy. But
Yeah, actually, when you first brought it up, that was what was in my head. I was like, hold on, Fancy? Like, you know what I mean?
Fancy was my name. I mean, I love that song, but yeah, definitely not necessarily in the creepy. I mean, I guess it's kind of creepy since like a kid being prostituted and stuff, but that's definitely creepy, but not creepy in the sense of like horror.
Not spooky.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, that's my number 1 pick. That was one that always kind of set with me and unsettled me, and you know what it's talking about.
Yeah.
So,
and great pull, because it literally talks about a southern state.
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like that's a really cool pull, like especially for number 1. Very cool. Mine is another old country song.
Let's do it. No.
This is Angel of Death by Hank Williams Sr.
Okay.
When the lights all grow dim and the dark shadows creep, and then your loved ones are gathered to weep, can you face them and say with your dying breath that you're ready to meet the angel of death?
But yeah.
Oh man, that makes me feel oddly nostalgic, because it felt like the like kind of country gospel music I grew up listening to with my grandparents and stuff.
Yeah.
It had that vibe to it. Like that feels like what I'd be sitting in the car with my grandfather and he'd be listening to.
Yeah, but one of my grandfathers really liked Hank as well. And I mean, I don't know, this the imagery and the tone of his voice and everything. And if you know anything about Hank Williams and how he dies so young, basically drinking himself to death. I mean, it's just kind of a great alchemy for just a perfect, soulful, creepy country music song to me.
For sure.
And I think I feel like this was used in Frailty. I think a character is listening to this song in the film Frailty. But I could be mistaken.
I could see that. It's been a while since that was a good movie. But it's been a while since I've seen that.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, so much of Hank Williams' catalog could kind of fall under this umbrella, but this one specifically is dealing with the friggin' Angel of Death. I mean, the iconography of it and everything. I just thought top tier, you know, and
for sure.
Hank is from Alabama, so I'm going for that pedigree here sometimes. So top choice.
That was a great pick.
Angel of Death from Hank Williams.
There
you have it.
That's our list. What's your list? Let us know.
There you go. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah. Sorry. I stepped on you there. But
you nailed it while mocking me. I liked it.
No, I wouldn't.
Do you disagree?
There was no bite in that at all.
We always end the Holler Kings with a segment called Holler at Your Boys.
Holler at your boys, y'all.
This is completely open topic. What are we going to talk about today?
We are going to discuss. I figured to keep in the tone with this, since it's kind of different from what we usually do, we should keep it in the same vibe. And just kind of talk about music, maybe like, especially music that's like horror related, maybe not necessarily country, that kind of was a touchstone for us as kids or teenagers or even into our 20s possibly.
Yeah.
And just kind of discuss a little bit of that.
Cool.
Because I feel like that's one thing we haven't discussed as much as music on here.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that is something that is usually impactful in people's lives. So yeah, I figure we go with that. Maybe just kind of discuss
Shooting
some
from the hip.
bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't know what kind of music you really listen to all that much. Do you have a lot of music that you could talk about that was horror related, maybe, or anything?
I mean, my music tastes are pretty vanilla and pretty standard issue, especially if we're talking about growing up. Because I mean, as a kid, I just liked whatever MTV was playing. I didn't have any real,
I know. I think I've seen around here. You talk about a little bit like the Misfits and stuff like that. They definitely have a horror vibe to them and
Absolutely.
stuff.
I mean, like, I'm not claiming to be like a top tier Misfits fan,
Right.
because I mean, occasionally it's kind of like when there's that bad thing that happens where like an attractive woman wears like a band t-shirt and
Right,
like people will like assault them, basically going like, oh, you like the Ramones, give me 3 Ramones songs,
Right,
like they'll
yeah.
do like someone could probably do that to me with the Misfits,
Okay.
where they would be like, oh yeah, you like the Misfits? Well, what's your top 6 album? Like if they did something like that, I'd be like, like I'd struggle a little bit.
Just named the mainstream stuff? Okay,
Right.
yeah, sure.
And like that's the thing with the Misfits is I'm not a deep cuts guy with them,
Yeah.
but I love just the idea of it, and I love the iconography. I love the Crimson Ghost.
Yeah.
And there are some of their songs that I discovered as a teenager where it's like that was really revelatory to me, because they were doing songs like literally called Return of the Fly and stuff like that, like just horror movie titles and stuff.
Yeah.
To me that was really cool at the time, and it's still neat.
For sure.
And for me, I don't know how familiar you are with the Misfits, but Last Caress.
I'm vague. Like, I know a little bit about them. I've listened to some of their stuff.
Romero actually used that in Bruiser. That song was in
Okay,
Bruiser
yeah.
a little bit. But to me, Last Caress is just like a hallmark of horror music. I mean, it's
Right.
just, but I love Danzig's like crooner persona when he's in the Misfits and everything. I don't know. So yeah, Last Caress for the Misfits, I think is like top tier, probably one of my favorite songs in general. Like,
Yeah. What did you ever get into stuff like? I mean, like Cooper, Alice Cooper, or anything like that?
Oh,
I mean, especially just like because he did what's the song he did for Friday 6? Is it
Behind the Mask,
Behind
right?
yeah.
The Man Behind the Mask.
The Man Behind the Mask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause he's back. He's the man behind the mask. And he's out of control. He's back. The man behind the mask. And he crawled out of his hole.
Definitely stuff like
Be My Frankenstein. And
yeah, for sure. Or
Yeah.
then you can even get into like bands like what was the band that did the Dream Warrior song for Nightmare on Elm Street 3?
Dokken?
Yeah.
Dokken,
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, there's a bunch. You have to find a bunch of music like that was so connected to those movies back in the day, especially like the metal kind of.
That's true. Like Misfits are kind of like a punk metal hybrid a little bit. And
Yeah,
then
for sure.
That kind of leads into metal.
Like that Last Caress sounds like it should be on the soundtrack of like Return of the Living Dead or something.
Absolutely. Good call. Yeah, like there's a lot of like cool kind of like metal punk hybrids of the 80s.
That or anything trauma related.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
without a doubt. Yeah, Dream Warriors. That is also top tier.
Yeah.
it's a great banger. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What about you? You haven't really.
Oh yeah, I guess I could talk about me too. Yeah, for sure. The main like sort of horror related music that I kind of ventured into. This was kind of around that time where you were talking about kids starting to rebel from what their parents listened to. Because I got a lot into rap, like especially like when I got of that age and got into stuff like Bone Thugs and Harmony, West Side Connection. You know, this was that crazy time of era when like No Limit was huge and Master P and everything. So I got really obsessed with that. And then I got introduced to a little band called the Insane Clown Posse.
Yeah, which I mean, I know very little about them outside of like people dunking on them, like because they became kind of a punchline a lot of time, like with the "What Is Magnets?"
You know what I'm talking Miracle about? Song.
Like,
yeah, for sure. That hit me at a moment where I was just getting into horror. The music I listened to, while I really loved it, and I still love it, there was that disconnect because I didn't grow up on the streets or anything like that. And so to get this music that came into my life that was basically, I mean, it's basically like a horror movie in like a 4 or 5 minute song.
Yeah.
And you were talking about how, you know, the old school country of like telling stories. A lot of ICP songs, they're telling stories. I mean, really, you got songs like The Toy Box, which is about a kid who makes all these warped toys that murder his classmates. So,
right.
Bang, clang, hammer and twist. Nobody knows I exist, and I'm pissed, but I won't be mentally scarred. Instead, I make toys of the graveyard. Monday, ringing the bell. It's all about show and tell. Might as well show all these bastards just what I got. Yo, check out my toy box.
you know, you got crazy stuff like that. You got like Dead Body Man's just a guy, serial killer who talks about living with all these dead bodies and everything.
Well, it's what I mentioned in our Wrong Turn episode. One of the reasons I picked it was because of Patton Oswalt recommending it on his podcast. And it's funny because with Insane Clown Posse, he brought them up recently on a podcast because he was talking about how, you know, he regrets, like a lot of times you'll like dogpile on something because it becomes part of like a cultural like snowball effect where, you know, one person dunks on it and everybody just kind of joins in.
Yeah.
And he stated, you know, that basically Insane Clown Posse was something that he would like make fun of a lot without ever really bothering to like learn anything about them.
Yeah.
Like he would make fun of like the gathering of the Juggalos or just the terminology but that, you know, he felt bad that like he had contributed to that because he found out in later years that, you know, it was kind of a very inclusive group and that it was all about kind of like a lot of people that felt like outcast and didn't really fit in one spot. This was kind of an umbrella they could get under and everyone kind of had a shared experience and everything. And
it definitely had that positive effect on me because as someone who was never like part of the cool kids or anything like that, who was always socially kind of awkward, just like, I don't know what to do with my hands when I'm talking to people. It definitely gave me a positive outlet to say, like, don't worry about being a part of that. Instead of like having in like desperation trying to be a part of them or anything like that. And it honestly, that helped me connect to like, I was never like best friends with like any of the jocks or popular kids, but because I kind of did my own thing and was just honest with who I was and just kind of didn't care about them, but I didn't like shit on them or hate them.
Sure.
Like I would talk to them and be friendly with them. Like I never had any problems in high school because I didn't have that desperation for popularity or trying to be someone I'm not. And that so much of that came from ICP because they're like, dude, we're like scrubs who are shitted on and been hated our whole life, but I mean, we own it. That's kind of who we are.
Right.
So after getting into ICP, it kind of branches out. You have the genre of music. It goes by many names: horror, rap, horrorcore, wicked shit. There's a bunch of different names for this genre of music, but it's
I think I could be in the genre of wicked shit. Craig Garrett busting out with his wicked shit.
Also acid rap. Yeah, it just kind of, there's all these terms for the umbrella of just like kind of the stuff that ICP does, making like rap music about like horrific things. And like I said, you get into a lot of horrorcore and it's kind of just violent or anything like that just for the sake of it.
Yeah.
I always liked how ICP would like tell like fantasy stories. It felt very much like a horror movie.
That's cool. Yeah.
So
do you think that kind of helped shape the types of horror movies you like and stuff, or is it kind of totally separate?
I'm sure it did to a degree. While they never really necessarily, I mean, I definitely guess with ICP getting into like being more interested in like horror comedies and stuff.
Yeah.
You watch like a trauma movie and it definitely feels like the ICP is a personification of like a trauma movie and like because they're silly and crazy and like you said, heightened like a trauma movie is. So yeah, I'd definitely say that probably, at least at that time, kind of piqued my interest into getting more like, if nothing else, just trying to find stuff that was more obscure and not like just like mainstream horror. Because we used to go rent from Movie Gallery all the time, and they had like a huge selection of movies and like just really oddball, obscure stuff that you'd never heard of before. So I'd definitely say that kind of played a part of it for sure.
Nice.
Dark Lotus was a group that was like all of them together. It was like ICP, Twisted, Blaze, and a couple other ones. So they had a bunch of different stuff like that. And they were actually they were like buddies with the Misfits and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Like they did a movie back in like 1999 or something like that called Big Money Hustlers. And some of the Misfits were in it, just had like a small part in it.
Fun. Yeah.
So yeah.
Big Money Hustlers. That's loosely based on my life story.
Yes, it said based on Craig.
Well, there you have it. That's some of our musical origins /
sure.
taste, and might be something we revisit down the line. Talk a little bit more about groups we like. I like doing the top 5 too.
Yeah.
We have to think of some more ideas for other top 5s that we can count down into. What did you guys think? Let us know on our social media handles at the Holler Kings on Instagram and Twitter. And we're thehollerkings@gmail.com. If you want to drop us an email, we'd love to read all about it. And finally, we have a YouTube channel, The Holler Kings. Easy to find. Thank you guys for listening. Adam, thank you for participating.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Until next time.
Sorry, what?
Holler at your boys.
I thought I was waiting for you to say it. Sorry.